Welcome to Mental Health Mini number 18, where we'll discuss genetics and psychoneuroimmunology. The role of genetics in mental health is something that's studied quite frequently. When we look at genetics, we look at the genotype versus the phenotype. The genotype is the actual chromosomal composition of our DNA. The phenotype is the activation of our genes, so it's what we see in an individual. Someone may have the genotype for a mental health disorder, but they may never show symptoms of that mental health disorder until something activates it and it develops into a phenotype. A perfect example of this is schizophrenia. Someone may have the family gene for schizophrenia, but it may not be activated unless they experience a severe trauma, smoke marijuana, or do other substances. When we have a genetic disorder, we call it a familial disorder, and this is the prevalence of pathophysiology among relatives. The link in mental illness may be unknown, or it may be chromosomally linked. The way that we study genetics in mental health is through both twin studies and adoptive studies. Twin studies are effective in looking at identical twins and seeing how much their DNA impacts their development of disorders versus their environments, especially when those twins have been separated or raised in different environments. Adoptive studies as well can be studied to look at how genetics of similar siblings with DNA structures raised in different environments may develop different psychiatric disorders. Psychiatric disorders that are expected to or shown to have a family link include schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder, anorexia nervosa, panic disorder, somatic symptom disorder, antisocial personality, alcoholism, Huntington's disease, Down syndrome, Alzheimer's disease, autism, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. Both Huntington's, Down's, Alzheimer's, autisms, and ADHD have a known chromosomal link to it. The other ones are just suspected to have a chromosomal or genetic component that links them. Then we have psychoneuroimmunology, and this is when the immune response contributes to the development of a psychiatric disorder or exacerbates symptoms of a psychiatric disorder. Some examples of this include toxoplasmosis. So these are different infectious materials that when someone's exposed to it can correlate with the development of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or aggressive behaviors. Lymphocytes are used to fight infection, and we do see that there's decreased amounts of lymphocytes during times of grief, bereavement, and depression. And this is why a lot of people are more susceptible to disease and illness when they're going through a hard time or when they're feeling extremely stressed. Cytokines are also a chemical that fights infection, and we do know that it's more active in individuals with depression and bipolar disorder. And that wraps up our very brief discussion on psychoneuroimmunology and genetics in mental health care.